From ditching their two-timeline plan after only one poor playoff campaign, to putting their future rebuild at a big risk, here's why trading Chris Paul for Jordan Poole is a bad idea for Golden State. In hindsight, ditching a two-timeline plan after a single setback seems like an impulsive idea the more you look at it. You see, the Warriors are known for looking at the bigger picture, and it's worked out pretty well for them, considering they won the 2022 NBA championship and still have a really strong squad.
Congratulations, you are the 2022 NBA champions. He's a four-time NBA champion.
Unfortunately, the squad got a little weaker because the Warriors decided to let Jordan Poole walk, and I totally understand the criticism around him. But was it worth the reaction from the franchise? I doubt it. Poole's been around for a long time now, so he knows what it's like to be a part of a championship-winning team, and he developed under the watchful eye of Steve Kerr while learning the craft from Steph Curry. To let him go after only one poor playoff run is madness. How can you possibly justify the decision? Fans were done with him. They wanted him out. But if every franchise started listening to their supporters, instead of focusing on the more sensible and rational approach, there'd be straight-up chaos in the NBA. Trading Poole away was the biggest sign of the franchise moving away from their two-timeline approach, and that's a major concern, because that was supposed to be their master plan, making their transition time smoother. Still, even if you overlook the impulsiveness behind the decision, there's another much bigger problem to look out for. The Warriors traded away Poole, yes, but they signed Chris Paul instead, and that is the real problem here. You may know him as the point god, but he's still a mere mortal who hasn't been able to stand the test of time. Age is catching up fast with Paul, and that's why this trade seems more baffling by the minute. On one hand, you've got Poole, in his early 20s, learning the craft from the Splash Brothers and ready to take over in a couple of years. On the other, there's Chris Paul, approaching 40 and getting worse with every season. Any other franchise could have gotten away with a decision like this, but the Warriors pride themselves on being proactive in the market and making smart decisions, which is why no one can wrap their head around this one. What's worse is that Paul hasn't even been that good as of late, and the Phoenix Suns forced him out, saying they wanted to go in a different direction. Basically, the NBA substitute for "it's not you, it's me." The Suns aren't role models when it comes to running a franchise, but they've got a definite dream to win a championship, and even they don't want Paul to be a part of their guard unit. But the Golden State didn't think twice before saying yes to him. And you can't overlook the impact of age at this point, especially when the Warriors' entire core is in their mid-30s now. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. Together, this trio formed one of the greatest teams to play the sport.
Curry, left wing three, walked into it. Perfect! Steph Curry from way downtown.
But now they've reached the end of their shelf life. Even now, all three have plenty to offer. But the fans saw that the current Warriors team couldn't make it out of the West, let alone win another championship. They were forced into a Game 7 against the Kings and were destroyed by the LeBron-led Lakers in 2023.
James backing in on Wiggins, cross the lane, lays it up and in, and the foul! James against Moody, goes right to the rack and banks it home.
Do you really think it makes sense to add another old head to the roster? That too, someone who's never won a championship before? Plus, all these players are great at what they do, but age is crucial to the way the Warriors play and their identity. They like to play chaotic basketball, switching places with one another to form a fluid motion. And that's why a trade like this one is a complete surprise. There's nothing Warrior-esque about it, because Paul isn't known for any of those things. Could it be that we see a slower version of the Warriors on court in the 23-24 season? I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. At the same time, there's also the very obvious issue of a lack of chemistry and the way Paul's supposed to fit into the team. The point guard is known for his extraordinary passing range, but he's not someone who likes to play in the Warriors' signature chaotic style. This could be a major problem in how the trade ends up developing, making the Wizards feel like they won the deal long before the season even began. Everyone's left thinking, how will Steve Kerr find a way to maximize his talent, and can Paul even manage in the new setup? After all, he loves to hold on to the ball, and that's going to be a problem, because Steph's the primary playmaker in Golden State. So can Paul learn to live with that fact, and learn to play without being the primary ball handler? These are all questions that need to be answered, and the Dub Nation will be hoping that their franchise knew a thing or two before going all out. Poole, on the other hand, was a team player through and through. He'd learned the Warriors' way of playing ball. Having been around for a few years, he knew all the plays, and now they'll have to start from scratch with someone close to retirement. Not the greatest of trades, if I'm being blunt, and it only gets worse when you factor in the cost of getting Chris Paul. Who knew the Warriors were this desperate for the point guard? I mean, I'd understand a straight swap. It would still be an outrageous move, with a lot of criticism directed toward the Warriors' front office, but they somehow thought to give up a lot more in return. If the Golden State fans were mad about giving up Poole for Paul, things took a turn for the worst when it was later revealed that they also traded Patrick Baldwin Jr. He may not be killing it as a dub, but he had bags of potential, and fans had high expectations from him as well. So most supporters can't understand the reason behind such a blockbuster trade package, only to get someone like Chris Paul in. But it gets worse. The Warriors also sent some draft capital along with the two, raising even more concern among their supporters. They're left wondering if there's any plan to what the Warriors are doing, and if they've prioritized winning a title now, then what does it mean for their future? I'm sure most fans would happily trade their current youngsters for another ring, but if you're replacing that talent with someone like Chris Paul, that's just underwhelming to say the least. I don't mean to say CP3 is a bad player. He's one of the greatest to play the sport, no doubt, but he just ain't that guy anymore. I don't blame him. He's 38. Yep, the same age as LeBron James, so retirement can't be far away. Like I said, Paul doesn't turn the Golden State into instant challengers either. Think about it. If you are going to mortgage your future, you might as well do it by signing players that can help you win in the short term, right? Now, Chris Paul is a lot of things, but what he isn't is a winner. Come on, you know it's true. The man will go down as a legend in the NBA, but he'll always be known as Mr. No Rings. Of course, that could change in Golden State, because they're all a bunch of serial winners. But it's just a pointless trade, whichever way you look at it. Neither is it improving the team dramatically in the short term, nor is it contributing in any way to their long-term success. So the Warriors pretty much destroyed their chances of a smooth rebuild. Before they completely abandoned the two-timeline approach, it was considered as one of the best plans, in theory, to increase the life of a dynasty. Of course, it was always going to be impossible to transition from the highest of highs to forming yet another dynasty. But the franchise and the supporters believed the two-timeline approach would allow them to skip the lows that every other franchise goes through. After the Chris Paul trade, I think the Dub Nation has a little cause for concern. They're going down the same route as other NBA sides, because they've got no one to replace any of their backcourt superstars. Almost all of their young projects have been busts or worse, and the one player, Jordan Poole, who could have been the heir to their backcourt, was traded away for nothing but a washed-up CP3. I mean, I've seen some terrible trades go down, but this one is way up there too. The Dub Nation deserves a bit of criticism as well, because you know what they say, be careful what you wish for. So from putting their future rebuild at a big risk, to ditching their two-timeline plan after only one poor playoff campaign. That was why trading Chris Paul for Jordan Poole is a bad idea for Golden State.